Shalom, everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School. You know where to find us online, www.koshertorah.com. This is Monday night, the 10th of February, 2020. We just finished the Tu B'Shvat New Year for Trees celebration. I did a little lesson, about 10, 11 minutes about that. That's on my YouTube and Facebook pages. Go check them out there if you're interested. But we're going to actually elaborate more on that topic and discuss my book, Protection from Evil, and go beyond the book, because we have a lot to talk about with regards to energy. But for those of you who do not know, we had a terrible tragedy here in our family right after candlelighting on Friday night. For those of you who know, my beloved canine son, Tex, suddenly passed away. Tex was not just a dog. He wasn't just a pet. I call him my son. I mean, I could sense within him a deep sense of understanding and things. Actually, one of my students had mentioned that we used to live in Tellico. Tex was always in class here with me. And it's curious, but there were times when he would respond to what I would be saying in class in ways that actually made my students wonder if he actually understood what I was saying. And you never know. It is taught in our Kabbalah that there are reasons and purposes in which human souls are reincarnated in the bodies of animals for whatever reason, for their own personal tikkunim, rectifications. I'm convinced that that was the case with my dear Tex. He's gone to a better place. I mean, his passing was very, very sudden. He did not have any pain or suffering. It most likely was a heart attack. God only knows what with these things. We buried him, Motzei Shabbat, and the family was there, and we wished our beloved son, goodbye. And yes, it's very, very emotional. That bond that we've had will last forever. For those of you who did not know, in Tellico, we had 6 dogs altogether. We had Tex, and we had our adopted dog, Lady, who went with my ex-wife, and of course, Sierra, who is the mother of the pups. And Sierra, she's right here next to me down on the floor. Stinking up the place, God bless her. Sierra is 7 years old now, much more healthy than Tex was. Wild, frisky. I don't know if she has the same level and depth of soul as Tex, but she is as much my daughter as Tex was my son. And obviously part of my family now for many, many years. As well as the other pups. Well, they've all found new homes, thank God. And, we're very, very proud of that respect. Matter of fact, for those of you who didn't know, when Sierra had her litters, we used to advertise, because Tex is pure blood King Shepherd and Sierra's AKC registered, and we would offer local law enforcement officers from anywhere free pups. Those who wanted to take them and use them, and many of them are now serving in law enforcement. So many of Tex's, his pups are out there rescuing and saving people's lives, and I can't think of any greater epitaph, than that. I mean, you think, oh, he's just a dog. Really? Okay. Well, then you need to read Perek Shira and the Kabbalah of dogs, which I put on KosherTorah.com in honor of Tex, and for the Ilui of his neshama. Ilui of the neshama means the ascent of his soul. Of a dog? I don't think you had a dog's soul, right? So you can go on to the front page of KosherTorah.com, and you'll see the translation about dogs and the Torah and the secrets from the Kabbalah about the dogs. And I guess that's why they are rightfully called man's best friend. So in that respect, Tex's spirit is with us, but his body is now resting in peace, and his tikkun and his soul has gone to the next level. And I hope and pray that he will be back with us and we with him in whatever forms his heaven so designs. With that being said, what are we really talking about is energy. I talk about this over and over and over again because it's very, very important for people to understand the reality of our world. I talked about this in my mini lesson that I did this morning on the topic of Tu B'Shvat. I talk about this in all my books. I literally hammer it in Protection from Evil. You know, this book is not available at present in the paperback. It's only available as an ebook for $18. You go to my PayPal, what is it? A PayPal support page. I forgot what the heck it was. Go online. You see in the links. I always put it in there. PayPal.me / KosherTorah School. Make an $18 donation, and I'll send you the ebook of this. I'm presently working now with my designer, David, who has designed Walking in the Fire, Protection from Evil, Aliens, Angels, and Demons. We're getting together a number of my books together now for release through Amazon. It's just the cheapest way to literally, so we can get out everything, because I have literally dozens of books that are just sitting there, and I thought, probably foolishly so, sit around waiting for money to publish. Why? We can get them out there today in different forms and formats. It's not exactly as it was in the olden days, but so be it. Things change. Times change. How and why do times change? Do you ever think about this? For the longest time, human civilization seemed to have been at a relatively similar level. And then all of a sudden, like a rocket ship, we go up. And I know many of you are going to say, oh, this is the sign of the times of the coming of the Messiah and all that. Well, something I guess time will tell in that respect. It is curious that the Zohar makes a curious prediction. Can't make it a prophecy because it doesn't say in the name of the Lord. And remember, whether the Zohar was written in the 1200s by Moshe de Leon and his group, which probably it was, Shimon Bar Yochai, most likely pseudepigraphal, nevertheless, don't underestimate those guys who put the Zohar together, right? If they're putting it together in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai as a pseudepigraphal, which is very normal in all of Judaic literature to be pseudepigraphal in that respect, don't think that these guys are just like making up stuff, because that ain't true. They had some very profound understandings and insights. So that is why the study of the Zohar, no, it's not the holiest thing in the world. That's true. Torah itself is. But nevertheless, very profound insights. One of those insights was a prediction that stated from what the Hebrew year would have been 5,600, corresponding to ballpark about the years 1840-ish. It said that the gates of wisdom from above and below would be opened, and that would be the beginning of the coming of Messiah, kind of stuff. But remember, even Chaim Vital and the Arizal said that they were living in the Ketz Hayamim, the end of days, back in the late 1500s, early 1600s. So the end of days is going on for a long time. Recognize, my whole book of Daniel deals with this topic, and it's going to be available, God be willing, shortly. Again, you'll see. But the whole concept of end of days is not something to be measured on the watch, like in time on the calendar, but as a flow of consciousness. Remember the underlying teaching of the Sefer Yetzer HaRa. You have the 3 books, all right? Sefer Sapa Sipur, and it corresponds to the 3 levels of Olam, Shana, Nefesh, which in our lingo is actually space and time and consciousness, sentience, mind. Everything interacts with one another. Like the Bible said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The heavens is not just the sky and the outer space out there. It's the physical, and for lack of the better word, we call it the spiritual. And I discuss this all the time. I don't like that word spiritual because it doesn't mean anything. I went into a whole discussion about this in a previous class about the possible difference between our universes as being the speed of vibration of molecular particles that we call above light and below light. And I think that makes a lot of sense from a scientific point of view. Has modern science ever proven this? Well, I think modern science and some of those like black op projects around the world, I think they know a heck of a lot more than they're going to ever reveal to the public. They certainly know where Mr. E.T. is coming from, and it ain't from out there. So all the disclosure to my ancient alien friends out there, you'd be surprised what those in the know, and the darn good reasons why they keep it quiet. Our world is a matrix. No, we're not batteries inside a machine of computers. But this world is what we call a veil. We call it a klipa, a shell, for a real underlying other, what we call higher. But higher and lower, gives the concept of like geographic like locations above and below. Well, what does that actually mean? Think of the reality of the in quote world above as a parallel existence surrounding us, which is energetic in origin, energetic in its function and its reality, with energetic beings, energetic counterparts of our individual selves, and everything in this outer world interacts with and affects and is affected by everything happening in the inner world. Don't just think that it influences us. We also influence it. As such, there is this ebb and flow, like a wave function going back and forth between these universes. And it's that movement that keeps reality in its place. So therefore, like it says in Kohelet, there's a time and a purpose for all things under heaven. The Yetzer HaRa elaborates on all of this: the time for love, a time for hate, a time for blessing, a time for curse, a time for war, a time for peace, go on and on and on. All of this is for a reason. All of this is to help us understand the ebb and flow of this energetic reality around us. In Kabbalah, the Ariel, he calls this the Olam Yetzirah, world of Zah. And everything is Zah and Nok, Nok being Malchut, Malchut being the physical world. So it's always the two together. That's the heavens and the earth. That is our reality. This is not important to accept just as an academic concept. It is the underlying reality of our existence and therefore needs to be experienced in order to be understood. Think about this. Okay, here is a very good example. Let's say, as a human being who has never experienced sexual intimacy, and you want to learn about what sex is all about. Okay, fine. You're going to go and read every book ever written about sex, whether it be by the doctors or the pornographers. You can go and see every movie ever made, again, by medical people, the porns, all this, from every source. And you are now a double, triple PhD in all knowledge of the concept of sexuality. Only you're a virgin. You've never actually had the experience. What do you then really know about it? That's a dramatic pause, because you could say, there's a disconnect there. You really don't know anything because you don't have the experience thereof. It's like the old metaphor: how do you describe color to someone who is blind? Someone who has never ever seen color. How do I define to them and distinguish between blue and red? I can make metaphorical examples in language, maybe with touch and feel, but it's not the same. And people who have gained sight after not being able to see, or in a real experience from ourselves, when we are, in quote, blind to something, and we have a revelation or an insight, I see it now. You notice how exciting it is, how wow it is when you experience that which you did not experience before. Well, that's what it is when it comes to experiencing the energetic reality of our world. There are ways and processes of how we develop and expand. This was handed down to us from the days of the Bible. It is said in the Bible there were things called schools, called Chug Nevi'im, groups, bands of prophets that used to go around. They used to practice very similar to modern day shamanistic types, where in which they would dance to music and they would, do the twirling stuff. You've seen the swirling dervishes in the Sufi tradition. That is a modern form of what was passed down literally from biblical times. And the Sufi have actually maintained many of our prophetic traditions. And even Abraham, the son of Maimonides Rambam, noticed this in his book, Hamaspik Lo Ovdei Hashem. And throughout the centuries, the Sufi and the Mikubalim, Kabbalists, especially the prophetic Kabbalists, have always been brothers with one another. That's just the way it is. That's the reality. Go Google the history and you'll see, and I'm almost certain that to this day, within certain circles, even with all the political garbage going on between Jews and is it Muslims or Arabs? I don't know. Whatever, there is still that bond that has never been broken. Baruch Hashem, thank God for that. But understand this reality. The energetic forms, not only do they influence us, but we influence them. Two things about energy. In an energetic world, you have energetic earth, energetic water, energetic air, energetic energy, plasma. In an energetic world, you have energetic beings. Yeah, many of those beings in the energetic world interact with us on a regular basis. They see us, we don't necessarily see them. And many of these energetic beings, as they are energy, are performing functions in relationship to physical counterparts. This is the teaching of our sages in the Midrash, which states to every blade of grass, there is a malach, an angel, which stands over it, striking it, telling it to grow. That means this, that there is an energetic counterpart, which is its source of energy, which flows into its subatomic structure, which gives it its consciousness, its sentience, to tell the proton to be positive and the neutron to be neutral and the electron to be negative. That level, all this little subatomic stuff, how do they know all of this stuff? That's the energy coming into them. So these entities out there, in that dimension, they're made up of whatever particles that are made up of there, on that side, tachyons, whatever else that really exists over there. We're made up of us. And we connect through that dimension of energy, which we call consciousness. Consciousness is an energetic form. We know this because we can measure it in a laboratory. We call it brainwaves. But underlying the brainwaves, there are deeper realities, deeper energies. And when we realign our focus of consciousness, again, that's what the prophetic teachings are all about. Take my courses, that's why they're there. We become sensitive to those realities. Now, sensitive to the other realities in the energetic world does not mean astral projection. Astral projection is something a little different. What it means is the awareness and expansion of consciousness, which we call, in our Torah language, Ruach HaKodesh, but other people, they call that psychic or extrasensory perception, the development of psychic tools, powers, gifts. Now, there are mechanical techniques to learn these things. Jews in our Torah tradition, we're not the only ones who know this. For those of you familiar with Sankhya philosophy out of India, you have the Sutras of Patanjali. He certainly teaches all of this stuff himself. Okay, there are many people who recognize, because what we're dealing with here is not a religious issue. It's a human issue. Physiological, biological, psychological, and psychic, all rolled up into one. And that is why when we want to talk about, hey, what's the topic tonight? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It is not my place to stand on my little podium as the clergyman and say, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not, bad on you, shame on you, you are all evil, you're all going to hell. And I'm sorry. I hope and pray that we have evolved or matured beyond these, what I have to call them, childlike fears of a punishing God. Everything in our Torah, the laws of the Torah, the 613 commandments as we have them, were ordained by God and given to us in the forms that we have them, specifically because they correlate to the actual laws of the universe. And when we study the Halacha, some translate that, most do, as Torah law, Jewish law. It actually, from the word holech, it's the way to go. It's the Jewish Tao, the Torah Tao. When we understand Halacha properly, we understand that it's all about energy calibration. Sabbath is all about balancing the energies with the earth. Kosher laws, balancing with the animal kingdom. All the things that we do with the holidays, prayers, is all about balancing with consciousness. Everything is about proper alignment. When our sages developed what we call a rabbinic Judaism, they, to this day, have profound prophetic wisdom, and that they know the ebb and flow of the energy, as we said, like it is in Kohelet and the Sephirot. Things change. Places change. Times change. Consciousness is different. So our sages recognized how to put their hand on the pulse of things. You know, like in the Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, we take your pulse and that's how you can tell your health. Well, that's the same thing our sages do with what we call rabbinic law. Judges the health of a community. And that's what real halacha is about. And those who are intuitively aware sense this and know this. So when many of my students will call me and they'll say, Rabbi, I have a halachic question. That means I want to know how to observe this or that in Jewish law. Well, I can obviously read from you the book. I could say, you know something, it's written in the book XYZ. Very nice. Is that how we do things? No. Anybody can read a book. You want to know a topic? You can have computer search on all the different things. They'll bring you a million different sources and all this stuff. But what do you do with it all? You have to translate knowledge into intelligence. That's where artificial intelligence is always going to have a problem. But the human soul, which is conscious and sentient, knows the ebb and flow and the times and the flow and all things under heaven, and therefore recognizes how things are to be. So a real posek, one who understands and knows halacha correctly, knows how to apply it properly. So now, when we're going to deal with a topic, the topic, evil. My book is Protection from Evil. Well, what's evil? Anything that is not religious. What the heck does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Let me tell you something. This is actually a conversation that the Rabbanit and I had earlier today at our Seder for Tu B'Shvat. We made and agreed on a statement that you can have people who are completely atheist, don't believe in a God or an afterlife, who are very, very righteous and moral, and the people who are religious, who do believe in a God and afterlife, who are very, very wicked. So don't go associating righteous behavior with a belief in a religion. Because if you look at what religion presents today as, in quote, truth, and you look at what atheism today is bashing, you will find that what the atheism is actually bashing isn't real religion, but the idolatrous forms of religion that people hold so sacred. You see, God has his own plans in how he works. I listen to many of the comments of these atheists, and they say, oh, God's, how could you believe God's a little old man with a white beard and that kind of stuff? And they got points there. But now, energy deals with its natural ebb and flow. Our culture and society today is horribly out of whack. And remember this, sexuality is energy. I think everybody knows that. Is there anyone who's going to argue with me on that one? Everybody knows that real sex begins in the mind, not in the body. I can prove it. If somebody is asleep and you try to stimulate their sexual organs, they might not even wake up. Off they go. Whereas in their dreams, they can have a sexual encounter, which leads to an actual ejaculation in the physical body. All starts in the mind. And that's something that we learn right out of the Bible, where it says Adam knew his wife Eve. Yada, Adam yada et Chava ishto. Yeda, knowledge. Sephirot dat comes from the union of Chokhmah and Bina in the mind. Goes straight down the center column through the heart and through the Yesod genitalia. This is why sexual activity is always associated with emotional activity. And this is why sexual promiscuity is an extremely harmful form of energetic imbalance. The more promiscuous an individual is, male or female, the harder it will be for that individual to settle down into a monogamous relationship with a single partner. Not necessarily for any sexual reasons, but because the energy has been so thwarted and perverted at the Sephirot heart level, there is a blemish there. And therefore the heart-to-heart, which is the true bond of partners, is hard and almost impossible to accomplish. This is why we are very much dead set against promiscuity. Now, with that being said, we're not prudes. Inside a proper marriage, what partners do, as far as I'm concerned, what goes on in the house stays in the house. I have told married couples, you do not have to be prudish or puritanical. There are many opinions of that expressed in the rabbinic writings. There is even a prejudice against sexual activity or sexual expression by those who are a little out of sync, because they look at all sexual activity as physical pleasure and physical pleasure being wrong. Well, that's very Stoic of them, but Stoicism is a Greek mindset, not an original Torah one. The language of the Kabbalah is always sexual. Dating back from the Bible, you look at the Song of Songs. The Song of Songs is such a racy book that if you look at it in its original form, it's almost like soft porn. Many of the rabbis did not want to include it in the original Bible canon because they considered it too risque. But the secrets therein are very profound. All throughout Zoharic literature, and of course the later Lurianic literature, we always speak of Yehudim. But the Hebrew word that's used is zivug, which actually means sexual union. How do you have sex in an energetic reality? How does Zer Anpin and Malchut Nok have sex? They're not physical, they're concepts. No, what they are is energy. And male and female energy, like magnetic cores of north and south, they have a proper balance and harmony. And when we, as individual human beings, which we are energetic beings, when we do not properly balance the energy inside us and then outside us, then we not only have the imbalance within our own selves and our lives, which reveals itself intellectually in a blemished mind, emotionally in clouded feelings, and physically in all kinds of messed up stuff. And that's the reality of things. So when energy is out of sync, everything else is going to be out of sync. That is the reality. Okay, I don't think anybody's going to really argue with that. How do we fix all of this? Well, again, I can get on my clergy pulpit and, wag my finger and say, you got to be good, you got to do this, and you got to do that. Again, we're not children. I can't talk to you like that. But what I can say to you is that our halacha is there for good reason. And when we have proper balance and harmony, then the vessel is strong, and then the light within it can be balanced. You see light all around me. That light's coming from light bulbs. Light bulbs. You know what a light bulb is? It's light, filament, whatever, inside a vessel. And it has to shine within that vessel. Crack the vessel, the light poof, goes out. The original source of evil was, in the language of the Torah, the Kabbalah, is called Shvirat HaKilim, the shattering of the vessels. The vessel was not strong enough to receive the light because it was in an imbalanced place. The Ariel says it wasn't properly balanced, male and female. And therefore, bam! The light comes in, smashes. The energy around us always is coming in, and we need to be that kli, that vessel that's able to hold it in, and then we recycle the energy. Energy just doesn't come down into our world. We go down and it comes up. It's always cyclical. When you look at the diagram of the 10 Sephirot, you should look at it almost like cyclically, because the Malchut, which is on the bottom, the Keter is on the top, they're technically connected, almost like in a circle, like that. Igulim. Very important. This is concept, I acknowledge. And you need to experience this to understand it. Just like I gave the example earlier about sexuality. So today we live in such an overwhelming, promiscuous society that we wonder why there's such, widespread division. Look at the hostility today between men and women. Where do you think that came from? There are so many women out there today who are so fed up with men. Why? Because men treat them like sex objects. And women allow it. In all due respect, I'll echo the words of a dear colleague, Dr. Laura Schlesinger. She's still around, on the satellite radio. You should listen to what she says. Ladies, I hear in counseling many times, where are the good men? I say, well, they're out there. But the question is, are you a good woman? It's not for me to judge. It's for you and your own partner to judge. When men and women act in promiscuous ways with the specific intent to solicit a sexual reaction through their appearance and behavior, well, what type of energetic signature do you think that creates? Answer, not a good one. A very imbalanced one. Especially if you are in a monogamous relationship with a partner and you want to present yourself in a noticeable way. What's the purpose? I want to look good. I should look good. I should be free and all that. Something I hear all the excuses. This is where energy is imbalanced. No, it does not mean that men and women need to dress up in burqas and cover ourselves. No. But it does mean there needs to be what the Hebrew term is, tzniut, modesty. Modesty is defined culturally within a context. And we do things within the cultural context to maintain a balance of energy. So much unlike what's done in our world today. Look at what's going on today. And this is the problem. We have become so sexualized that we don't recognize what we're doing to ourselves. And by doing this, we are imbalancing our world. So, you see all what's going on in politics today? The divide between, the war between the sexes. The war between one political philosophy and the next. The war between nations and peoples. And this, we have more and more and more and more division. The more and more and more and more energy is imbalanced. One thing obviously reflects the other. The greater the division in the light, obviously the greater the division in the vessel. Goes both ways. Remember I said it's cyclical? So the greater the division in the vessels, the greater the division in the light. What do you think happens in the natural world when there is an imbalance? Study meteorology, study weather, all right? You have storms which come, and their purpose is to restore energetic balance. And storms can be pretty nasty, very destructive. We create our own psychic storms when we do not embrace inner harmony and balance. Now, like I said, we have our Torah way of doing things. We have our written laws which say modesty, like we said, tzniut, is defined as A, B, C, D. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's not the point. For the record, as we know in our Orthodox Jewish traditions, married women are supposed to cover their hair after marriage. All women are supposed to wear skirts and not pants. See me looking around here, a little dramatic pause. That's not always true. You have many a rabbinic opinion. Well, let me rephrase that. Not many, but some. Who say, for a married woman today to go with her hair uncovered, that's not an issue as it once was. In my opinion, as other rabbis, for a woman today to wear pants, it's not so much an issue. Whereas, again, if an individual man or woman, this is not a one-sided thing here, is dressing specifically to appear provocative and not tsanu'ah, not modest, then that's the problem right there. Because, and rabbis have mentioned this, you have many a married Jewish woman, ultra Orthodox, like 10 kids, and yet she will make herself up and appear in such a provocative manner that they've, spoken negative terms about such appearances. I'm not going to even repeat it because I don't want to. This is where sexuality needs to be tamed, so that we recognize the energy from the Yesod to the Sephirot to the Dot to the Keter. This is all energy. Everyone in any real meditative tradition, not just our Torah tradition, the Sufis know this. The Native Americans know this. In the Sankhya system of Patanjali, they know this. The Kundalini yoga systems, they know this. The Taoists know this. The Buddhists know this. Everybody who has real experience with energy knows the balance and the harmony that's necessary here. Only in the, is it secular West, that we have such rampant imbalance of energy. I said that secular because, even in our modern religious world, we still have these problems. In our Torah tradition, we have a law called negia, which means don't touch. Men and women who are not married in immediate family should have no physical contact with that. And you know something? I agree with that. My phone, it says it's getting warm. Who knows why? Weird stuff happens here. All right? Physical contact between men and women, verboten, asur, no. And I agree with this. And I spoke once with a Christian group where, they're always hugging, one another in churches and the like. And I asked the women in the church, I said, ladies, for those of you who are always being hugged by members of the opposite sex, by a show of hands, please tell me, how many of you have received a hug that you felt was not exactly appropriately, in quote, religious? Almost every woman in the church rose their hands. I can't ask that in synagogue because women aren't being hugged. So you see, this kind of imbalance and stuff, we try to hide it or justify it or dismiss it. We can't. Negia is a great idea, and I really, really support and believe it, and extends out from there. Now let's talk about modern society. Somebody's writing in text. I got to put on my reading glasses to read. Put a fan behind the phone. The airflow will cool the processor. Well, you want to know something? I'm in the middle of class. I can't always do this type of stuff. So hopefully my phone doesn't blow up. It hasn't blown up yet, so you never know. We've had strange stuff with technology. You should know that. But anyway, getting back to the point here. Look at our society. Remember, in the old traditions, dance was always the way of spiritual ascent. Music and dance. I do it to this day, right? I do not dance to Sufi music. It's not my tradition. But I grew up, I'm a good old 60s boy, 70s boy, remember? I still could do dance to like the music I posted recently from Bastian's theme of the Never-Ending Story, one of my favorites. Different songs. Did you ever try doing meditations like Magic Carpet Ride of old Steppenwolf? How about like the Highway Star of Deep Purple? These are some of my personal favorites. You know, boom, 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 music. But does that boom, 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 boom bring you down, where the energy dissipates into sexuality and therefore creates a weakened vessel and imbalance? Or can it bring you up into a place of higher reality? That's your choice. That's your discipline. Take a look at modern social events. People today, they all go to clubs. What do you do at clubs? You're drinking alcohol, which weakens your resolve. You're exposed to the music. The music has become so grinding and bumping and sexual. And this is where all the promiscuity happens. And these places become dens of evil. Oh, that's such a religious term. I like that. I had to throw it out there. What it becomes is conduits, vortices of places of imbalance. People just say, but Rabbi, I want to go to the club. I like to hang out with my friends, have a couple of drinks. And do you really like to hang out in a cesspool? Do you really want to hang out in a black hole? Really? Well, yeah, I don't have to be so religious and stuff. Hey, I'm not God's policeman. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You go do whatever you want. But if you want to stay energetically safe, energetically strong, don't go into a place in which energy is going to be sucked out of you like in a psychic vampire. So all of these clubs and all of these dance halls and all this stuff that's going on, which has a negative spiritual component, it is channeling energy in a completely opposite direction, and it's going to suck you into it. Your mere physical presence in these domains is going to influence you, suck energy out of you, and, if you will, I have to use the term, seduce you to the dark side of the force. I love using modern metaphors, but I've seen this. I see this happen all the time. I've known of a number of cases of individuals who say, I just like to go out, I like to party, I like to chill. Well, I understand that. I mean, like I said, we're not stoics. We do what we need to do. But where? How? Under what influence? I am not a football fan, and I don't watch football. I did not watch the big Super Bowl game. I've actually never, I'm 60 plus here, I've never watched a football game in my life. Football is not my sport. I like baseball, right? Originally, I used to say go Dodgers. Now, if my mom passed away, we say go Mets, whatever. Go Yankees, whatever your favorite team is. Football I've never watched. But I heard, I didn't see, but I heard that the halftime show at this recent NFL game was condemned by many people as being a very immoral expression of this type of sexuality. What does that say, ladies? What does that say when you present yourselves? Women today, in my opinion, rightfully have the right to complain and saying, stop using, men stop looking at us as sex objects. Well, I got an equal statement back. Stop consenting to be sex objects and you won't be treated like that. Well, I can do whatever the heck I want. Sure you can. But there are consequences to action. Well, there shouldn't be, but there are. Well, I don't like the way this one or that one acts. Well, you don't have to like with anything, but there's energy. And energy is a flow in the universe which is above and beyond you. And you're not going to change it. You're not going to change the way men think or women think. You're not going to change the ebb and flow of attraction and attention, but you must safeguard your energy. Anyone who knows Tao Te Ching, anyone who knows the Patanjali, just like in the Sufi, just like in the Sankhya, just like in the Kabbalah, just like in all the traditions of the world, they'll all tell you the same thing. This is not a religious message. This is an energetic message. So somebody here in text is asking me, what's wrong with rock and roll and sex? Well, let me tell you something. Every one of us here is a byproduct of sex. Yeah, it's true. All right. What can I say? All right. Every one of us who is a father, who has ever had a child, we are the true MFs. Oh, I'm being graphic. You know what MF stands for. Mother trucker, ha ha ha. That's what it is. No, there's nothing wrong with sex. Certainly nothing wrong with rock and roll. It all depends on its usage. Now, think of energy, which it is, like fire. Hey, fire is energy. You son of a gun. What do you know? Now, you know what I can do with fire, don't you? I can take you and light you on fire and burn you to a crisp. So let's outlaw fire. Well, gee, how am I going to cook my food and other stuff like that? Oh, well, we have to have moderation. Yes, moderation, balance, harmony. In the Torah tradition, we talk of something called the Yetzer HaRa, evil inclination. And some have gone to say that the evil inclination is any kind of physical sensation of enjoyment. And it's all evil. Don't enjoy anything in this physical world. Cut yourself off from it all. All right? If it's too hot, if you like warm, go into the cold. Now, this is all imbalanced stuff. There is one great Rebbe that today everybody looks at very, very esteemed. And it was well known that in the wintertime, he'd go out and, roll naked in the snow because he wanted to punish his body for sensations. And in the summertime, he would go out and strip naked and go out in the forest and let bugs bite him all over his body. Okay? No, that's not a role model that I think anybody should follow. That is not, in my opinion, what's balanced. The Yetzer HaRa, the evil inclination, is our generic term for the enjoyments of the physical world. But you will find in the Kabbalah, the writings of the Maram Ben Ishai and amongst others, speak of what we call the Tzad HaTov of the Yetzer HaRa, the good side. In other words, there are things you have to do. There's nothing wrong with sexuality as long as it's in a proper balanced place. And like I said, in the position of a monogamous couple, we call married couple, all right, what you do, I don't care. Do it. I don't care however wild and kinky and weird you want to get. Whatever you do, they say what goes on in the bedroom stays in the bedroom. And I mean this. You don't necessarily have to follow the opinions of specific rabbis throughout the centuries who said, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, don't do this. All right? Those are opinions. And for some people who are of that Stoic mentality, that's the way they are. But for others, they're a little bit more expressionate. And you look in the Kabbalistic tradition, like Song of Songs from the Bible, going all the way down the Zohar tradition, sexual expression is very important. Sexual intimacy, very important. But sex, yesod, has to be balanced with love, Sephirot. Well, does that mean that every time that I'm having sex with my partner, I'm supposed to love that one? Yeah. Is that really a surprise? What about just going out and having a good time? Now, that's where it's wrong. That's where you're imbalancing the energy. That's what we call pritzut. All right? You're dividing stuff. Don't harm yourself like that. And yes, every time, that's harmful. Someone is asking a question here. How do you know if you're balanced? Well, how do I balance energy? Energy, I can look at balance in a mathematical formula. 1 + 1 and the other side of the equal sign is 2. But no, you will know it inside you when your mind is clear, when your heart is not clouded, and your behavior is balanced. This is clarity, tikkun, yichud, everything in proper harmony and balance. You look at it in your life. And that is how you know and understand. And you know darn well when you got issues and problems in your life. You don't need anybody, a rabbi, or anybody else to tell you. Darn well no. And when we take individual and personal responsibility for our own choices, when you look in the mirror and say, I want to do it, I want to do it, I don't care. Okay? You don't care? Then don't be surprised for the consequences when the universe doesn't care back to you. And you put out negative, and negative comes back. That's just the law of attraction. That's the way it is. Imbalance out, imbalance in. That's just the way it is. I don't make these rules. Like I'm saying over and over again, this lesson is not a lesson about religion. This is a lesson, not even about spirituality. It's a lesson about energy. My old book, Protection from Evil, in the beginning, I said that this is not a Jewish book. This is a book about energy to deal with everybody. The evil side of the Yetzer HaRa, that's the imbalance. Now we can look at the diagram of the 10 Sephirot. And remember, the 10 Sephirot is not something up and out there. It's inside us. We are the 10 Sephirot. We taught this in our Covenant of the Merkabah class. It's available online. Go to our YouTube page, and you'll find it. It's a whole chapter in my book, Walking in the Fire. We're the 10 Sephirot. When we are in proper alignment and balance, everything is well and good. But when you have right and left, too liberal, too disciplined, you have two extremes. In Kabbalistic language, they use the metaphors of the two worldly kingdoms of Ishmael and Esav, Edom. And they refer to these in, quote, other kingdoms as being the realms of imbalance on either side. We can be too liberal. When we are too liberal, we create imbalance. We allow things that should not be allowed. And we forbid things that are supposed to be permitted. On the other side, when you're too strict and too rigid, you prohibit which should be permitted, and over. So you have the imbalance. Don't ask me how to find the balance. It's not my job to tell you that, because this is an experiential affair, not an academic one. So, how are you going to live your lives? And what are you going to do? The more that you practice meditation, the more that you seek inner harmony and balance with your own internal balance, male and female. Carl Jung speaks about this. Analytical psychology. Every male has within him this internal female. Every female has within her internal male. Not only is this psychological in the context of what we call the anima and the animus, this is also, from what I understand, physiological, within the DNA itself. We're only 51%, I think, of one side or the other. Don't think that the other 49 gets thrown out. It's not. We need to find the balance within ourselves, and then we can have the balance within the world. One of my books, which is available now in an ebook, go to my ebook page. It's about the 10 Sephirot within us, the image within, male and females in relationship. And I talk all about the 10 Sephirot and how they are within us, male and female, how we balance them out. All kinds of examples from psychology, from the Bible, from Kabbalah, and the like. Again, you can go onto my webpage, KosherTorah.com. Go up in the top, we'll say eBooks. You go scroll down, it'll say Sephirot within us. All right, the image within. It was originally called B'Tselem, Elohim. So anyway, check this out. Get the ebook. I don't remember how much it is, a couple bucks. And you learn these things because the practice is really what's important, but you get the concept of it. So, we've talked about the sex, we've talked about the rock and roll, save the best, I don't know, for last. I mentioned about alcohol being possibly bad. I am not a drinker. God knows in my entire life, believe it or not, I've never been drunk. Yeah, I don't drink beer, I don't drink any carbonated beverage, I'm a weirdo. Even Rabbanit Deli, she looks at me like I'm nuts. All right, from France. She enjoys the great, French wines, and so do all my friends and students. That's fine. Me, for me, I don't like the taste of any of it. When I used to live in Tellico, we always used to have a bottle of moonshine for all the guests. Me, I never drank. I used to tease people and say I had my drink that was never ever anything alcoholic. Right now, I think I got my Monster Rehab here. That's about as wild as I get. I'm like my father. My father didn't like alcohol, neither do I. But now, what about drugs? Let's stay away. We're not going to talk about heroin and all that. Let's talk about something simple like pot, marijuana, hashish, and the like. Yes, CBD used in a medical way, I think is widespread, and I think there's a lot of valid medical advice for that. Using marijuana for medical issues, I think that the medical validation for that is pretty strong. But what about recreational use for expanding your mind and consciousness and stuff? Again, are you ready to expand your mind and consciousness? In the shamanistic traditions, they have ayahuasca. But the ayahuasca, they don't just give to anybody. Because if you're going, in quote, out there, what you're going to see out there is a reflection of what's inside you. And if what's inside you is so out of balance, out of sync, you're going to see through darkly shaded glasses. And instead of seeing a holy angel, you will see an evil demon. Instead of seeing light, you will see darkness. Instead of seeing good, you will see evil, because it's all a reflection from what's within you. So before you start taking drugs, you better make sure you're balanced. I do not condone the use of drugs. I've heard of people, they smoke pot all the time. I think it's bad for the brain. I know it creates a cloud. My teachers in Jerusalem would never teach anybody the prophetic traditions if they used any kind of a drug. They wouldn't teach pot smokers or anything else. That's just the way it is. What does he say about the shamans? Shamans are very well trained. Yeah, he says somebody hears of the shamanistic tradition, they don't use that. A drug literally is almost like a jump start. It's like a cheat. Don't do dangerous things. That's what I have to say to you. Learn what it means to be properly balanced. Understand this for your own individual safety. You're looking for peace in your life. Why create chaos? I mean, isn't it easy? I mean, does it have to be harder than that? The basic foundations, if you're going to act in ways that's going to be energetically harmful to yourself, then don't blame the universe or God or religion or anything else when you get harmed. And no, bad things aren't going to, there's no, like, when we talk about blessing and curse, remember, this is the natural flow of energy. When you're balanced, you'll bring in balanced energy. When you push against balanced of energy, you create storm, you create the negativity, and karma is going to come and get you. It's going to bite you in the tuchus, as they say. You don't want this. You don't need this. Change what you're doing. That is what halacha is really all about. It's the secret form, vessel for the true Kabbalah, the prophetic Kabbalah. And that's what it's all about. You don't have to put on the airs of being religious, but you do have to embrace the reality of righteousness. The Hebrew word for righteousness is tzedakah, which actually comes from the root sodek, which means to be right, which means to be balanced. Tzedek. It's the whole balance of the inner column. Let's see what somebody else here is commenting here. Yeah, the root is talking about the original word assassin. Actually comes from the hashishin. This is the same thing. The old original cult of the assassins, which started in certain Islamic circles. That's that same philosophy that's used today to brainwash, the young guys and girls now to go out and be suicide bombers. Yeah, that can be a real bang, but I don't know if it gets you energetically, spiritually where you want to go. But enough of that. All right, I got the point across. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, okay? In proper context, good. In not proper context, bad. Yetzer Tov has a good side and a bad side. Yetzer HaRa has a good side and a bad side. Use the good side of both. Common sense, following Halacha, knowing energy through proper meditative practices. That's what it's all about, folks. Do that, and you'll see for yourselves where we're at. Okay? Check out the courses that I have online for you. They're ready anytime you're ready. Learn to practice, learn to do. Get shvitis to put on your wall to permeate yourself with the energy of the presence of God. Do the right thing. Ariel Bar Tzadok here, KosherTorah School. Find me online, KosherTorah.com. Come join our school. Come look us up. We'll see you all soon. God bless. Shalom.